A determined blonde warrior dashes through the rain towards a glowing red crystal, sword at the ready. Her face, marked by a scratch, shows fierce resolve as she grips her shining blade tightly. Suddenly her green eye widens in shock, a gasp caught in her throat. Before her looms a monstrous winged insectoid creature, fiercely guarding the crystal on its pedestal. Another, smaller winged beast joins the larger one, both advancing with menacing red eyes and sharp claws. She bravely clashes her sword against the creature's attack, a grunt of effort escaping her lips. The monster's strike lands, slashing across her midsection as she recoils in pain. Blood streams from her mouth and a cut near her eye as she lets out a choked cry of agony. Lying wounded and defeated, the warrior is surrounded by the victorious insectoid monsters. Lying in a pool of her own blood, the warrior faintly whispers, "Sorry, big brother." A memory surfaces of a young man with kind red eyes saying, "Nana, I'll be waiting." The monstrous insectoid creature lets out a deafening roar, its gaping maw filled with needle-like teeth. Transitioning to a sprawling, sunlit cityscape, a somber thought appears. I don't think I can keep that promise. A white-haired young man with striking red eyes strolls through a busy street, carrying bags of groceries. A voice calls out, "Rue!" causing the young man to glance back. Three men greet Rue, one noting the large amount of groceries and asking if Nana is returning today, to which Rue confirms she mentioned finishing her A-rank dungeon expedition. Another man, identified as D-rank explorer Kuji Shimura, inquires if Rue is also dungeon-bound and about his health, receiving a positive, "much better now" in response. Koji bids farewell, saying he'll visit for a meal later, and Rue pleasantly agrees. "Sure, I'll be waiting." After Rue departs, the remaining two men grumble about risking their lives while he feasts like a king, attributing his fortune to having a sister in the 7 stars. The screen displays the insignia of 7 stars, identified as the top organization in Yoram. One of the men corrects his companion, stating Nana began in the slums and nearly starved until Rue saved her, though the other still grumbles about their own hunger. A flashback shows a young Rue, who survived by scavenging, offering a piece of bread to a small, destitute Nana. The first man concedes the point, while the other insists Rue is just a freeloader, justifying their complaints. Their cynical thoughts drift over a cityscape, speculating that if Nana dies, Rue will return to poverty. Transitioning back to Rue, his hand carefully selects fresh vegetables from a grocery bag. He places the bags on his kitchen table, letting out a soft sigh in the sunlit room. Rao glances at the clock, realizing he went far for fresh ingredients and is now behind schedule, needing to hurry with dinner. With focused precision, he begins slicing an eggplant on a wooden cutting board. He then skillfully stir-fries the ingredients in a wok over a hot stove. With a satisfied smile, Rue in an apron announces "done" as several beautifully plated dishes sit on the table before him. He then glances at his phone, a slight frown appearing as he murmurs, "But she's late." The phone's lock screen displaying a cheerful photo of him and Nana shows the time 19:02, prompting him to wonder, overtime again? Later, the kitchen is dim, and Rue is seen slumped over the table, the elaborate meal untouched. His phone suddenly illuminates the darkened room with an unknown caller notification at 10:03 p.m., rousing him from his dejected state. Answering with a simple, "hello," he listens as the caller, identifying as the Explorers Association, asks if he is related to Nana, the shining light of the 7 stars, to which he confirms, "That's right." His red eye widens in horror as the voice on the other end delivers the grim news. "I'm sorry to inform you, but she was killed in an S-rank dungeon by a monster. Her death was confirmed 2 hours ago." Staggering back in shock, Rue exclaims, "What? No!" knocking a plate of food off the table. The dish smashes on the floor as the caller continues. "We just wanted to inform her family. However, if the word gets out that a 7-star has died, it will cause serious trouble, so please keep this confidential for now." Rao stands frozen, absorbing the final words from the association. "We'll send compensation and benefits within a month. Please contact us if you have questions. Goodbye," before the call abruptly ends. Rue sits in stunned silence, the phone clattering to the floor as he utters Nana's name. The devastating question, "she's dead?" hangs in the air, echoing his disbelief. A poignant memory surfaces of a small Nana asking, "Can I start calling you Big Brother now?" To which he had replied, "Of course." Another cherished flashback shows a radiant Nana in a sunlit field, joyfully calling out, "Big Brother!" He recalls Nana, bandaged and fierce, asking, "Are you hurt again?" and declaring, "They said bad things about you." A A vision of Nana, resolute and strong, assures him, "I'll be back soon, big brother." He remembers her leaning in while he cooked, requesting, "So make something nice and wait for me," and his gentle response, "Got it, so be careful." Her confident words from before her departure echo, "It's just an A-rank dungeon this time, so don't worry." A sudden realization dawns on Rue with alarm. Nana said A-rank, but that guy said S-rank, as text explains the association's special investigation program for S-rank or higher dungeons. Gazing at a framed photo of them, he processes that the association's direct contact, especially concerning a 7-star, meant they bypassed their usual investigative procedures. He questions how they could have known the details of an S-class dungeon incident in merely 2 hours, or if there was another possibility. A steely glint appears in his crimson eyes as a thought begins to form. His gaze falls upon the cherished photograph of him and Nana, a silent testament to their bond. 5 days later, the imposing structure of the Explorers Association looms under a clear sky. Inside a sunlit office, an official seated at a large desk inquires, "Mr. Rue, what brings you here today?" Rakuto Hutu, head of the Make-You branch, Explorers Association, then adds, "If this is about shining light, we have already spoken on the phone." With unwavering resolve in his glowing red eyes, Rue firmly states, "I want to register as an explorer." The association head, Rakuto, offers a silent, thoughtful response. A bead of sweat forms on Rakuto's temple as he brings a hand to his forehead, clearly troubled. He then explains to Rue, "Becoming an explorer means walking side by side with death," adding, "You don't even have any abilities. You're not qualified." Rakuto reminds Rue that he was the closest to shining light, and she would surely want him to live peacefully. Rao calmly points out that according to Explorer Association rules, a relative of an explorer can become one, irrespective of ability. The association head, Rakuto, listens with a somber expression, a scar prominent on his face. Reluctantly, Rakuto instructs an assistant to take him, to which Rue quietly expresses his gratitude. While Rue is escorted out by the assistant, Rakuto adds from his desk that he's always welcome if anything arises. Rue casts a final glance back towards Rakuto's office before departing. The frosted glass door slides shut, marking Rue's exit from the office. Rakuto remains seated, a thoughtful and perhaps troubled look on his face as sunlight streams into his office. At a different counter, an association employee hands Rue his new ID, and he offers a simple, "Thanks." The newly issued ID card displays Rue's details. Male, age 21, ability, none, rank, E. Rue gazes intently at his newly acquired E-rank Explorer ID card. He recalls Rakuto explaining that the person with shining light used a special item to escape, prompting Rue to insist Nana mentioned an A-rank dungeon. Rakuto counters, stating that from what he heard, they were sent to a sealed S-rank dungeon, suggesting Nana might have lied to prevent Rue from worrying. Back in the present, Rue stands with a somber, determined expression, processing this new information. His hand clenches into a fist as the thought, "This wasn't some noble sacrifice," crosses his mind with conviction. Pulling the hood of his blue jacket over his head, Rue's face is cast in shadow, his resolve hardening. He walks down a sunlit street, autumn leaves falling around him, vowing, "I'll get to the truth no matter what." The scene shifts to the entrance of a D-rank dungeon, where a group of explorers prepares to enter the swirling blue portal. A close-up shows a confident-looking party of explorers, ready for the challenges within. Inside what appears to be a staging area, one explorer boasts about wanting to be a frontliner, while another scoffs, reminding him he freaks out at monster corpses, to which the first retorts that talk is cheap. Rue, hood still up, thinks being in the back is better as there's no monster fighting, then states, "Let's go." The 4 explorers, including Rue at the rear, walk towards the large, swirling blue dungeon portal. Inside the dimly lit, rocky dungeon, one explorer remarks it's been 30 years since dungeons appeared, and he's worked for over 10, questioning if another is still not used to it, to which the other asks if anyone can truly get used to this. One explorer nervously asks if they should wait there, while another, noticing a new person, inquires if he's the new guy, and the young man confirms he was assigned to rear guard and is unsure what to do. The seated explorer comments that despite this, the new guy still came, and another clarifies they don't enter until the main party takes down the Guardian. The first explorer dismisses further conversation, saying they'll see once inside, while the spectacled one tells the new guy not to mind him, as he's always like that, and the new guy responds with an "okay." One of the seated explorers then turns his attention to Rue, who is sitting apart, observing that he's also a new face and asks if he's a rookie. Rue, looking over his shoulder, simply replies, "Yeah," prompting a small, surprised, "Seriously?" from the explorer who had been boasting earlier. The spectacled explorer kindly advises Rue that if it's his first time, he should stick with them and follow their lead, but his sentence is cut short by a sudden, loud, monstrous cry. All four explorers, Rue included, look up in alarm, startled by the unexpected sound echoing through the dungeon. A terrifying, guttural roar, represented by large red Japanese characters, erupts from the depths of the dungeon. All four explorers, Rue included, gaze upwards in apprehension towards a glowing red chasm from which the sound emanated. One nervous explorer questions if they should proceed, while a more experienced one retorts they'd just perish, questioning if the rookie, Sato, even had training, as the spectacled man notes they weren't taught much. Sato, looking anxious, clarifies that an incident at the association this year meant there was no training provided. The seasoned explorer and his spectacled companion exchange looks of disbelief and concern at this news. Rue, observing them, internally realizes the lack of training wasn't unique to his unconventional entry, as the veteran explorer grumbles about their incompetence and the other muses about staff shortages. An explanation details that explorers usually means combat specialists, with only D rank and higher permitted to engage monsters, illustrated by a warrior battling a reptilian beast. The depiction shifts to a support explorer equipped with a pickaxe and medical kit, clarifying this role is for civilians and E-rank individuals. The spectacled explorer remarks they are essentially part-timers, while the blonde, seasoned one begins to offer advice if they wish to contribute. Suddenly, the experienced blonde explorer, peering into a dark passage, urgently summons the others to join him. The blonde, seasoned explorer announces, "Let's go, we've got work," leading his support team deeper into the dungeon. They enter a vast cavern, witnessing a colossal defeated monster and a combat party gathered around a fallen member, one of whom lets out a shocked exclamation. The grim sight of a dead explorer, his body grievously wounded and shield shattered, causes visible distress among his surviving teammates, while the rookie support member recoils. All four support explorers, Rue included, stand aghast at the bloody scene before them. A spiky-haired combat explorer spots Rue using a peculiar rainbow-hued item on their fallen comrade, reacting with surprise. Consumed by rage and a fiery red aura, the spiky-haired explorer furiously shouts, "You bastard!" at Rue. A dark-gloved hand suddenly clasps the enraged explorer's arm, halting his advance. A female combatant with pale blue hair, still kneeling, firmly holds back her furious teammates, stating, "He's new. Calm down." The spiky-haired explorer, though still agitated, turns to the support members, questioning their experience and urging them to maintain composure. Meanwhile, the blonde support leader sharply strikes the dazed rookie on the head, ordering him to quit spacing out and get to work, as the combatants begin to manage the casualty. The rookie support member, still shaken, questions why he was yelled at when he didn't do anything wrong, as Rue, diligently mining, explains that his actions were disrespectful to the deceased and their loved ones. Defensively, the rookie exclaims he didn't mean any harm, it being his first time witnessing such a scene, to which Rue, examining a dark crystal, replies that the combatants understood this, which is why he wasn't punished further. Curious, the rookie then asks Rue how he possesses such knowledge despite also being new, and Rue, now carrying a box laden with mined crystals, vaguely states he heard it from someone. Rue's expression remains somber and focused as he continues his work in the dimly lit dungeon. In a different setting, possibly a flashback or a scene at home, Rue is cleaning when a young woman with cat ears and a red hood informs him, "Big bro, a rookie died yesterday." She elaborates that rookies are being taken along for training, but one overestimated himself and was ambushed, while another support rookie vomited upon seeing the body. With a heavy heart, the cat-eared woman confesses that a friend of the combat explorer who died got enraged and killed the support rookie, admitting she tried to intervene but was too late. Rue, turning slightly, remarks that killing someone over such an incident is excessive, and the woman concurs, though she doesn't know all the details, adding that combat explorers have always looked down on support staff. Returning to the dungeon scene, the blonde support leader sharply tells Rue to stop dawdling and get to work, reminding him that the monster corpses still require cleanup. The blonde leader, observing Rue efficiently moving boxes, then comments, "So you are a rookie?" Admitting Rue's composure made him think he was merely pretending, prompting an internal sigh from Rue about the old jerk. The blonde leader explains to the group, "Listen up, to clear a dungeon you gotta smash the core, it's that thing over there." He continues, illustrating with a dynamic image of a warrior fighting a beast. "But to break the core, You first have to take down the Guardian. No matter what monster it is, their body only lasts 30 minutes after death. A glowing red crystal is shown as the text clarifies, but for Guardians, the countdown starts after the core is destroyed. Standing near a monstrous corpse, the rookie explorer asks, "Why's that? Monster corpses are worthless." The spectacled explorer chimes in, "Because you can't bring them out of the dungeon, so obviously they're worthless." An array of glowing items, including a sword, shield, and book, appears as the explanation continues. But when you beat a Guardian, there's a chance you get weapons or gear. If you're lucky, maybe even a skill book. A shining question mark silhouette emphasizes, rare items drop sometimes too. The blonde leader then states, "If you care about loot, then ask the combat guys. The dungeon closes 30 minutes after the core is destroyed. Let's move." The support team is seen near the dungeon portal, with one member draping a cloth over what appears to be the deceased explorer. As they prepare to leave, the spectacled explorer tells the others, "We'll deliver the loot. You guys can go home. Your pay will be deposited within 3 days." The spectacled explorer advises that just because support doesn't fight doesn't mean it's safe, suggesting self-training for longer life. As they exit the dungeon, the blonde leader tells the rookie that running fast means surviving longer, to which the rookie thinks, "Give me a break. I thought his job would be easy." Rue, hood still up, watches the other support members walk away under the twilight sky. His hand clenches as he internally resolves, "I've got to get stronger." 2 days later, at the association building, Rakuto Hotu asks Rue, "How was the dungeon?" Rakuto then inquires with a smile, "Ha ha ha ha, didn't the treasure tempt you?" While Rue, hood up, responds, "Weird and dangerous." Rue, with a serious expression, states, "Nothing worth risking my life for." Rakuto Hotu listens to Rue's words with a thoughtful, silent expression. Looking towards a door labeled training room, Rakuto remarks, "You and your sister really are alike." They both stand in a vast, brightly lit, empty training hall. Rakuto, in profile, tells Rue, "Rue, I find it so strange." Facing Rue, Rakuto continues, "With Shining Light's legacy, you could live comfortably forever. So what's your goal?" Rue, with a determined look, replies, "I can't just slack off living off Nana's inheritance," adding, "I'm sure you've heard all the rumors that I'm trash, mooching off my sister." Rakuto listens as Rue states he's sick of people whispering behind his back. Then Rakuto mentions that while Shining Light's death is secret for now, people will eventually realize Rue is the sole heir. Rakuto tells Rue, "It's good you want to get stronger on your own," then adds, "There's someone I want you to meet." A very muscular older man with white hair and a red tank top appears, calling out, "Hey, old man," towards Rakuto. The muscular man, introduced as Charlie List, 37, instructor at Make You City Explorer Association, stands with arms crossed, asking Rakuto, "What did you drag me out here for?" Rakuto introduces him to Rue. "This is Charlie, the mentor I found for you. He may look rough, but he's the strongest in our branch." While Rue internally notes, "Whoa, that body," and Charlie demurs, "Don't kid me, I'm just a thug." Charlie List leans in, tilting Rue's chin up with his large hand, and asks Rakuto, "You're making me babysit this brat?" Rakuto calmly informs a now visibly surprised Charlie he's Shining Light's brother. Charlie, with a sigh, concedes, "All right, I get it, but this is the last time," as Rue stands silently beside him. Dismissing Rakuto with a curt, "Get lost, watching you makes me sick," Charlie then instructs Rue, "Follow me, kid," while Rakuto expresses his reliance on the instructor. In the spacious training hall, Charlie begins, "Hey, kid," to which Rue introduces himself, "I'm Rue," only for Charlie to sharply retort, "I know, don't interrupt me, brat." Charlie directly accuses Rue, "So you used the Elite Explorer Air privilege to get here," and Rue defiantly asks, "Got a problem with that?" With a skeptical look, Charlie presses further, "You sure you weren't tricked? Do you even know what that privilege means?" Rue, with a somber expression, quietly affirms, "I know." A panel explains that explorers are ranked from S to E, but those surpassing S rank are known as the 7 stars, featuring an image of Nana among them. The narrative clarifies that elite explorers receive top benefits, and their families can inherit some upon death, provided an heir was designated while the explorer was alive, accompanied by an illustration of a scroll and seal. It further details that while inheritance is common, the rarest, often deemed useless, privilege allows the heir to become an explorer without tests, and to select one association training, offering a chance to grow stronger. Charlie, arms crossed, then tells Rue, "If you understand, then make your choice," prompting a confused Rue to ask, "Choose what?" An unspoken tension hangs in the air between Rue and Charlie, punctuated by ellipses. Charlie, scratching his head, explains, "Listen up, this is important. There are 3 types of training, that's attack, defense, and speed." He then states that since Rue probably can't picture it from words alone, he'll show him as a training robot activates. Charlie demonstrates attack training by delivering a powerful kick that shatters a training dummy. Next, he showcases defense training, calmly enduring punches from 2 robotic opponents with his arms crossed. Finally, Charlie illustrates speed training, nimbly dodging multiple beams of light. With the demonstrations complete, Charlie, arms crossed and surrounded by the aftermath, asks Rue, "Which one will you want to be?" Rue stands silently amidst the destroyed training equipment, contemplating Charlie's question. With a resolute expression in his red eyes, Rue firmly states his choice: defense. The scene shifts to a sun-dappled park, focusing on a foot in a blue sneaker taking a step. Rue is shown jogging through the sun-dappled park, already looking winded and struggling. He soon comes to a halt, bending over and gasping for breath on the paved path. Later, feeling utterly sick, Rue wonders if this kind of grueling training is truly going to be beneficial. Back in the training hall, Charlie suddenly claps a startled Rue on the shoulder, declaring his choice of defense. "Not bad, you're pretty smart." The instructor elaborates that his peers would typically pick offense to protect themselves or opt for speed to have more choices for running or attacking, as Rue internally acknowledges Charlie's immense power. With a serious look over his shoulder, Charlie somberly adds, "That's why they all died." A bead of sweat forms on Rue's temple as he reacts with a startled to Charlie's stark revelation. Charlie stands with his arms crossed, a moment of silence passing between him and Rue in the training hall. Rao tentatively speaks up, and Charlie advises him that he can decide his own training routine, so he should focus on building up his body. When Rue questions if Charlie isn't going to train him, the instructor grins, stating it's no good if he gets winded after just a little running. Charlie forcefully claps Rue on the back, making him cough up blood and yells at him to train harder. Rue, wiping blood from his mouth, looks up with determination and simply says, "Got it." Charlie holds up 2 fingers, informing Rue, "You have 2 months. If you don't reach a minimum level by then..." Looming over Rue, Charlie sternly declares, "I don't care if you're shining lights, brother. I won't look after you." Later, Rue is seen exhausted and sweating profusely during an outdoor run, pausing for breath. With renewed resolve, he thinks, "Guess I'll run a bit more," and continues jogging through the park. A calendar page showing July 20th flips by as Rue is depicted doing sit-ups in his living room, indicating time has passed. Later, Rue sits at his computer in a dimly lit room, researching information on the screen. The screen displays a dungeon monster investigation record for a creature named Dog Dumbi, a mythic beast of S rank with various abilities and extremely high physical defense. Looking at the monster's stats, Rue muses, "Mythic beasts are this strong, huh? No wonder, Nana. This is why you were so stubborn about keeping me away from being an explorer and from dungeons, isn't it?" A hand accepts a bag of goods from a vendor, accompanied by a "thanks for your business" message. 2 acquaintances observe Rue, one noting his frequent meat purchases and daily visits to a high-end rest station for recovery. As Rue walks by, one of the men grumbles resentfully about him living well despite having no abilities. A calendar page turns to August 10th, showing Rue diligently running up steps in a park as part of his training. The calendar advances to August 15th, depicting Rue performing pull-ups with intense effort in an outdoor setting. 1 month later, a significantly more muscular Rue wearing a cap is shown sweating, his physique transformed by training. Mr. Kuji stands at Rue's doorway looking surprised and somewhat concerned, uttering Rue's name. Rue, wiping sweat with a towel, casually invites Mr. Kuji to come in. Inside, as Rue pours a drink, Mr. Kuji remarks on his changed appearance, admitting he almost didn't recognize him due to his recent training. Mr. Kuji looks thoughtfully at Rue, taking in his transformation. Mr. Kuji, while Rue pours tea, tentatively asks, "Hey Rue, when is Nana coming back?" Rao replies that according to the association, she's on an overseas mission and won't return for a while, as Mr. Kuji sips his drink and says, "I see." Mr. Kuji then reminds Rue they've known each other a long time and encourages him to speak his mind if something is troubling him. He points out Rue's recent increased spending, which has attracted attention, noting that many people can't afford even basic necessities and that Rue has been visiting the rest station daily. Rue, taking a sip from his cup, casually asks if Mr. Kuji is worried he might get robbed, to which Mr. Kuji replies that as long as Nana is around, that won't happen. However, Mr. Kuji then reveals, "But I heard something bad happen to one of the 7 stars, as Rue's eyes glow with an ominous red light. Rue, turning to face him, inquires where he heard that, and Mr. Koji explains he overheard some A-rank explorers discussing it, adding that the association wants to keep it quiet, but people are trying to find out what occurred. Looking at a photo of Nana on the wall, Mr. Koji earnestly asks Rue to tell him honestly how Nana is doing. Rue, with a slight smile, poses a rhetorical question. If something had happened to Nana, I wouldn't be able to live like this, would I? A moment of silence hangs between them as they sit at the table, the framed photograph of Rue and Nana visible on the wall. Mr. Koji, looking somewhat relieved, remarks that he guesses Rue and Nana have always cared more about each other than themselves, apologizing for his strange question, to which Rue replies it's fine and thanks him for his concern. Rue then suggests Koji stay for lunch since it's already noon, but Koji declines, saying he still has things to do and maybe next time. After Koji leaves and the door closes with a soft click, Rue stands alone in his entryway. Later, Rue's phone rings, displaying the caller ID, Idiot Num 3 at 0732. Rue answers the call, and the person on the other end, a woman, remarks that he finally decided to call her, prompting Rue to state he has something to ask her, while she retorts that she called him 45 times in the last 2 months without him picking up, and now he's the one calling. The woman on the phone asks if his call is about the 7 stars, leading Rue with a sharp glint in his eyes to question what she knows. She cryptically suggests he ask the association, then adds that depending on his attitude, she might tell him, before abruptly hanging up with a beep. Rue, annoyed, wonders why she hung up, as the woman on the other end warns that if he says anything weirder, she'll ask his older sister, before revealing that one of the 7 stars died, but they haven't been able to identify who. The woman, wrapped in a towel and looking out over a cityscape at night, muses that the association is desperately trying to hide it, which is expected, as even one of the 7 stars getting injured would draw national attention, then questions if Rue is asking her instead of his sister because she then directly asks Rue over the phone, "Is something wrong with Nana?" revealing a large, dark mark on her back. Rue, startled, exclaims that if she contacts his sister, he'll... The woman on the phone, now depicted as a chibi character wrapped in a towel, furiously shouts she was wrong for thinking of setting him up with her older sister. Back in his room, Rue, wearing a cap, looks at the framed photo of him and Nana, realizing someone is trying to investigate Nana's death. His hand gently touches the photo as he wonders if it's a power struggle or if they are connected to Nana's demise. Later, Rue sits patiently on a bench in the sunlit training hall, waiting as Charlie is visible in the distance. Charlie approaches with a slight smile, uttering a simple, "Well, well." Standing before Charlie, a noticeably more muscular Rue asks, "So, do I pass?" As Charlie remarks he's changed so much in 2 months he's hardly recognizable. Charlie, stroking his beard and looking Rue over, confirms he barely passes and suggests they get straight to the point. Charlie informs Rue he has good news and bad news. The good being there's only one type of training he can receive for now, prompting Rue to ask about the bad news. A close-up shows Charlie's grinning face as he begins to explain that Rue's training consists of... Charlie forcefully declares that Rue's training involves getting beaten up, delivering a powerful blow that sends Rue reeling. Rue is sent flying across the training hall by the sheer force of Charlie's attack, crashing heavily in the distance. Standing over the winded Rue, Charlie instructs him to remember this level of power, stating that withstanding it means passing the training. A surprised Rue questions if that's all, and Charlie clarifies the training's aim is to build resistance, ensuring longevity regardless of damage taken. Charlie further elaborates that this survival principle holds true both within and outside dungeons, asserting that only the survivors are truly strong. With a resolute expression, Rue internalizes the harsh truth. One cannot be considered strong if they are dead. Charlie then directs Rue to spar with a training robot, permitting dodges but forbidding any counterattacks, before announcing he's going to sleep. Rue begins evading the swift, powerful strikes of the activated training robot in the hall. After some time, a panting Rue kneels, frustratedly wondering if he is meant to only keep running away from the robot's onslaught. However, a steely look enters Rue's eyes as he realizes that retaliating would undermine the entire purpose of this specific endurance training. Rue, in a blue shirt, prepares for the training robot's incoming punch. A spectral image of Charlie materializes behind Rue, clarifying the training's aim is to build resistance, while Rue wonders, "That's it?" His determined red eye reflects a newfound understanding. Gritting his teeth, Rue crosses his arms to absorb the robot's blow, realizing, "I can't just dodge, I have to take it all." From an elevated position, Charlie watches Rue withstand the robot's assault in the spacious, sunlit training hall. A slight smile plays on Charlie's lips as he thinks, "You finally get it, huh?" Internally explaining this approach hones both spirit and physique, and that defense training's simplicity often leads to it being undervalued. Rue persistently deflects the robot's barrage, while Charlie's voiceover suggests that, in time, people grasp that defense transcends mere physical power. Charlie leans back in a chair, his phone chiming with a Dharma Hall caller ID and a rather flamboyant ringtone. Picking up the call, an annoyed Charlie grumbles about his lack of sleep over the past week and expresses frustration at being assigned more tasks. The voice on the line reveals an S-rank dungeon has manifested in Mizuyasu Village, making Charlie's eye widen with alarm. The voice on the phone continues, explaining that most of Mizuyasu Village has already been swallowed by the S-rank dungeon's swirling blue vortex. Back in his office, Rakuto Hutu listens intently, holding a document as the phone call with Charlie continues. Charlie, on the other end, confirms that Kazami from the Seven Stars has given the go-ahead for their involvement. Rakuto remarks that Charlie is quite good at convincing him, to which Charlie replies it would have been easier if Shining Light were still around. Charlie, sitting down, states that it can't be helped and they need to deal with this significant problem quickly. He muses that it's impossible for an S-class dungeon to expand into other countries, noting they spent 2 weeks desperately trying to contain it, and he hasn't heard anything since last week. Rakuto, at his desk, then inquires when the operation is expected to happen. A document titled Mizuyasu Village, S-Class Dungeon Investigation Report Number 01 is shown, with a note indicating, after 45 days. Charlie, slightly annoyed, asks Rakuto who he's glaring at, stating he also wants to get this over with, while Rakuto explains that one of Kazami's key members is injured and will need at least a month to recover, adding that Seven Stars members are irreplaceable. Charlie then adds that besides this, it seems there's an internal rift in the Kazami family as the young ones have disappeared, expressing sympathy for Kazami who needs to find his siblings. 45 days later, a swirling blue dungeon portal crackles with energy. A party of explorers, including Rue, ventures into the dimly lit, rocky passage of the dungeon. Rue, now with light blue hair, stands with a cool and composed demeanor, an aura of power around him. A younger, flushed explorer nervously tells Rue, "Hurry, the boss is almost here," while Rue remains stoic. The group of explorers halts as they perceive something ahead in the cavern. An imposing, horned, rabbit-like creature with glowing red eyes, identified as the area boss, appears before them. One of the explorers shouts, "Get ready for battle!" as the team charges forward with weapons drawn. The explorers engage the formidable area boss in a chaotic flurry of attacks. Observing the fight, one of the rear scouts remarks on the boss's strength and the leader's decision to bring only 3 experienced rear scouts, while another wistfully says, "I want to fight too." A bald explorer with an axe prepares to deliver a powerful downward strike. The bald explorer leaps high, bringing his axe down on the monstrous rabbit, while another warrior simultaneously pierces its underbelly. Standing over the vanquished beast, the bald axeman declares, "It's over, let's head back," as the team regroups. Several pairs of boots tread purposefully through the dimly lit dungeon floor. Rue, positioned centrally with a grave expression, is flanked by 2 stern-faced explorers, the rest of the party following. A close-up on Rue's intense red eye reveals his suspicion. Something's weird about them. They're too fast. The younger explorer nervously inquires if Rue knows something, to which Rue voices his unease about their rapid attack speed and the scarcity of monsters, advising caution. A hand gently clasps Rue's shoulder, drawing his attention. With a disarming smile, the younger explorer suggests Rue proceed ahead, assuring him they will provide cover from the rear. Rue, his expression unreadable, simply responds, "Got it," accepting the proposition. Suddenly, the other explorers close in, encircling Rue and the younger man, prompting Rue to internally question, "We're surrounded. What are they planning to do?" From the dark passage, a small, peculiar creature with a playing card body and a tiny hat emerges, catching Rue's attention. The card creature, identified as a king of spades, displays a spinning wheel with question marks on its torso, glowing ominously. One of the treacherous explorers grins, exclaiming, "Ha ha ha, it's out! Lucky!" as his companion smirks beside him. The younger explorer, now terrified, collapses to the ground asking, What is that?" while Rue looks on with a grim understanding. Desperately, the younger explorer pleads with Rue, I know the enemy's characteristics, so I can help you explore. It's an invisible monster. We need to sacrifice a person to it. Use them. I'm useful." Rue, his red eyes glinting, coldly asks, "An invisible monster?" Is that why you brought us here? A flashback shows Nana collapsing onto a bed, exclaiming, I'm tired. Today we came across an invisible monster. In the flashback, Rue, holding drinks, asks Nana, What's that? And she replies, A really annoying monster. It forces people to vote for sacrifices. Nana further explains in the flashback, it's like roulette, you survive based on the number of spaces you get. The enemy's invisible till you make a choice, so it's called an invisible monster, as images of the card monster and a ticking clock appear. Rue in the flashback then inquires, So it plays with people. So is there a countdown? To which Nana on the couch somberly responds, Who knows? Everyone who's seen it is dead. Nana in the flashback explains that the monster makes people kill each other, and grimly adds that some people want that. Rue, still in the memory, then asks his sister if this particular creature drops any valuable items. As Nana takes a sip from her glass, he further inquires about what happens if someone is chosen as the sacrifice. She pauses, holding her drink with a somber expression, contemplating his question. Back in the dungeon, the King of Spades monster displays a flaming 60-second timer above its head, with the directive, You need to kill it, appearing, while its roulette wheel shows the number 2. The card creature projects holographic images of all 8 explorers, including Rao and the younger man, as the fiery countdown ticks down from 55. A treacherous explorer's hand reaches out and decisively taps Rue's holographic portrait, selecting him. 2 of the betrayers, looking at the chosen holographic images of Rue and the young explorer, remark they can use the trash's ability and decide, then let's go with these 2, as the rest of the party observes from the passage behind. The blazing digital timer displayed above the King of Spades monster rapidly counts down to EU0. With the time expired, the card creature unleashes its power, causing numerous sharp blue energy spikes to erupt from the cavern floor around a startled Rue and the terrified younger explorer. The King of Spades monster flashes a wide, unsettling grin, its teeth sharp. Its card-like body cracks as it lets out a pained "Gah!" recoiling from an unseen force. The younger explorer collapses in despair, muttering, This is impossible. There's no way we'll win, as Rue stands resolute with his sword. Turning towards the defeated young man, Rue, with glowing red eyes, coldly inquires, Do you want to die? The young explorer, utterly dejected, explains, This boss is 3 to 5 times stronger than the Guardian. We can't win. Abruptly, the younger explorer lunges forward, a desperate energy surrounding him. Rue deftly sidesteps as the young man tries to shove him towards the menacing creature. Having missed, the young explorer stumbles past Rue, who simultaneously parries a fiery attack from the King of Spades. After the exchange, Rue, catching his breath, glances at the sprawled young explorer who weakly utters, You. His sword radiating a crimson glow, Rue fiercely proclaims, If you want to be a sacrifice, do it on your own. I won't give up no matter who my opponent is. With his sword ablaze, Rue leaps towards the King of Spades monster, preparing to strike its fiery, toothy maw. A colossal, swirling red and black vortex consumes the landscape, labeled as Mizuyasu Village. Before this ominous vortex, Charlie List stands with arms crossed, then turns, as if sensing an arrival. A polished black shoe steps firmly onto the desolate ground near the swirling red energy. Kazami Shun, identified as one of the 7 stars and known as Tenkin, appears with his axe and 2 solemn companions, blood splattering his clothes. Charlie addresses Kazami, who explains that Tsuyoshi was sacrificed. Kazami, looking downcast, apologizes to Charlie, admitting he wasn't strong enough as the captain, while Charlie inquires about the events in the dungeon. Kazami reveals they encountered an invisible monster, and refusing to choose a sacrifice, Tsuyoshi volunteered to stay behind, to which Charlie listens with a grim expression. When Charlie asks about Tsuyoshi and the book, Kazami, with a slight somber smile, states he destroyed it, deeming it the safest course of action. Charlie, running a hand through his hair in exasperation, mutters to himself about always getting stuck confirming these kinds of situations. Charlie, taking a drag from his cigarette, states his need to check the process, no matter who does it, believing the child of luck is humanity's biggest threat. He lights his cigarette, reflecting that this precious child of luck used the lives of 4 S-class and 17 A-class individuals to become a powerful killer. With a grim look, Charlie considers that Tsuyoshi is a strong kid, but if he becomes the child of luck, he'll have no choice but to take the life of a 7-star. Kazami's companions approach, one informing Charlie, Captain, it's time. while Kazami instructs them to tell the chief that the highest rank in the dungeon might not be S-class. Kazami adjusts his formal suit jacket, a serious expression on his face. Turning slightly, Kazami reveals, "I got this letter," adding, "It was written that," as a female companion stands behind him. Charlie's eyes widen in disbelief, the cigarette falling from his lips as the news is delivered. Shining light has been revived. Back in the dungeon, Rue skillfully parries a barrage of shadowy tendril attacks from the King of Spades monster, sparks flying. He then braces himself, using his sword to block a powerful, direct strike from the grinning card creature. A bead of sweat rolls down Rue's temple as his glowing red eye shows intense focus and strain, a grunt of "coup" escaping him. Rue slides across the cavern floor, sword extended, narrowly evading the monster's assault. The King of Spades unleashes a flurry of crimson energy tendrils from its gaping, toothy maw. A powerful shockwave from the creature sends Rue tumbling backward through the air. Bracing himself on the ground, Rue internally acknowledges the monster's incredible power, yet realizes if it were truly 5 times stronger than the Guardian, he'd already be defeated. With a determined glint in his eyes, Rue pushes himself up, a new understanding dawning on him. The King of Spades' wide, malevolent grin seems to mock him, as Rue deduces the creature is merely toying with him. Rue's gloved hand firmly grips his sword, parrying one of the monster's swift, red-tipped tendrils. While airborne, Rue observes that the creature can easily extend its limbs, making ranged combat disadvantageous. He notes with keen interest that despite its attacks, the monster's main card-like body hasn't shifted its position at all. Fending off multiple tendrils, Rue begins to suspect that the creature's immobility might be its critical weakness. Planting his foot and hand firmly, Rue prepares to launch himself forward. He lunges towards the King of Spades, sword extended, exclaiming, "I'll give it a try!" A confident smirk appears on Rue's face as he believes his strategy is succeeding, thinking, "Looks like it's working!" His blade plunges directly into the monstrous card creature's gaping, tooth-filled maw. Suddenly, Rue's expression turns to shock as the situation takes an unexpected turn. The creature's sharp teeth clamp down, shattering the blade of Rue's sword as sparks fly. One of the monster's red-tipped tendrils swiftly wraps around Rue's ankle, ensnaring him. With a malevolent grin, the King of Spades yanks Rue off balance, slamming him onto its flat card body now lying on the ground. The monster then violently smashes Rue face first into the hard cavern floor. Rue lets out a choked gasp, his red eye wide with pain from the brutal impact. The defeated young explorer questions Rue's persistence, despairingly asking why he continues to fight an unbeatable foe. Rue's midsection is shown tightly constricted by the creature's glowing red tendril. Suspended upside down by the tendril wrapped around his waist, Rue dangles helplessly before the widely grinning King of Spades. His vision blurs with oppressive red and black shadows as he hangs limply, his hair obscuring his face. With blood trickling from his eye and mouth, he bleakly thinks, "So this is how I die." A luminous vision of Nana then appears before him, her hand outstretched, gently saying, "Brother, let's go home." His own gloved hand reaches towards hers in this ethereal memory, his mind uttering her name. Nana. The scene transitions to 4 years ago, depicting Rue and a cat-eared girl standing somberly before a grave, adorned with a bouquet of flowers. Displayed on the tombstone is a wedding photograph of Ikoma Kasumi and Ikoma Enji, with an inscription explaining Kasumi died a month prior while saving Enji in a dungeon, and how she had always looked after him to prevent his depression. In that past moment by the grave, Rue comforts the cat-eared girl, telling her, "It's not your fault, Nana," to which she responds with a hesitant, "I know, but..." The cat-eared girl, wiping away a tear, confesses her fear since Ikoma's death, anxiously wondering what she would do if her brother were to die someday. As Rue observes her, she utters his name, Nana, then adds with conviction, "But I know." With newfound resolve, she declares to Rue, "I'll do my best for you, brother. You're my life," adding that if he perishes, her own life would lose all meaning. She then firmly states, "I know you want to become an explorer, brother, but I won't let that happen as long as I'm alive." Rue listens silently, his expression thoughtful as ellipses hang in the air. Gently patting her head, he reassures her, "Okay, it won't happen, so don't worry," to which she questions, "Don't you hate that?" With a gentle smile, Rue affirms, "It's fine, you're the most important person to me." Transitioning back to the present dungeon, the young explorer, with a surge of desperate courage, yells, "Ooh-ah, here I come!" brandishing his sword. He lunges at the King of Spades monster, his blade striking its card-like body, while Rue remains ensnared in the background. Rue, still captive and bleeding, watches the young explorer's charge, his gaze intense as he utters, "You..." The young explorer recoils in terror as one of the monster's red-tipped tendrils lunges towards him. Its sharp appendage pierces through the young man's chest, causing blood to erupt from the wound. He is violently flung backward by the impact, smashing hard against the rocky cavern wall. The young explorer slumps to the ground, grievously wounded and bleeding from his mouth and eye. The King of Spades monster opens its enormous tooth-filled maw, preparing to consume the still ensnared Rue. As Rue is pulled into the creature's gaping mouth, he lets out a blood-curdling scream of pain. With fierce determination in his glowing red eyes, Rue desperately pushes against the monster's teeth, vowing, "I can't die till I find the truth behind Nana's death." He continues to resist being devoured, yelling, "No matter what happens, I won't let anyone get in my way." A close-up on his blood-streaked, resolute eyes reflects his unwavering thought. "I won't lose. I won't lose." With blood dripping from his mouth and an intense glare, Rue internally declares, "I won't die. Not in a place like this." With a final surge of resolve, Rue, being pulled into the monster's maw, vows, "I will defeat Nana's enemy." The young explorer is shown impaled through the chest, blood arcing from his mouth as he's violently thrown back. Rue, still ensnared, is whipped around by the creature, his body contorting from the force. He lies on the dungeon floor, bloodied and seemingly defeated, his eyes closed in pain. The King of Spades monster, glowing with intense red energy and digital fragments, roars with its massive toothy maw wide open. Rue, now sitting up and looking towards where the monster was, sees it dissipating into glowing red particles against the cavern wall. Wounded and panting, he wonders aloud, "Did I get it? Did I bite through to its core?" A violent cough racks his body, and he expels a spray of dark blood. Lying on his back amidst the dim light and glowing particles, a faint, bloodied smile touches Rue's lips as he murmurs, "It's a draw. Sorry, Nana." Suddenly, his red eye widens in shock as shimmering green healing particles begin to envelop him. Lying on the ground, Rue looks up in surprise at a glowing blue holographic screen that has appeared before him, questioning, "What is this?" He gazes intently as indecipherable, glowing script materializes on the bright blue interface. The screen then clarifies, "Obtained hyper heal, low spec, single-use passive healing special item, automatically used," causing his eyes to widen in astonishment. Reaching out a gloved hand, he tentatively touches the luminous blue display that confirms the acquisition of the hyper heal, low spec item. Another blue notification promptly appears announcing, "Skill obtained, X reuse." Later, while resting on his bed and examining a similar blue screen, Rue muses that he found this skill in the dungeon and has been looking into it, but still doesn't understand its function, as the notification merely stated he acquired it, unlike the more descriptive hyper heal. Sitting up with a self-deprecating smile, he reflects on his weakness, acknowledging his continued reliance on miracles as faint blue particles drift around him. His phone, resting beside him on the bed, suddenly rings, displaying Koji-san as the incoming caller. Answering the call with a serious expression, Rue confirms, "Hello. Okay, got it. I'm heading out now." In a dimly lit alleyway, Mr. Kuji spots him, smiling broadly and waving as he calls out, "Rue, over here!" Koji, apologizing for the delay, tells Rue they're not ready yet and to have a seat, as other explorers stand near a large dungeon portal. Sitting on a bench, Koji inquires if Rue's injuries are okay, to which Rue replies they're better now and will be fully healed in a few days thanks to Hyper Heal. Koji then expresses his frustration, stating that most people in dungeons are useless and one needs a reliable team to be a combat explorer, but all the famous ones already have parties. A female explorer with a red top and twin swords on her back interrupts, announcing to Rue and other hooded figures, "The rear support. It's work time." While Rue utters an "I..." As the group of explorers walks towards the swirling blue dungeon portal, Kuji tells Rue, "We'll talk later. Let's do the job first." Emerging into a fantastical, brightly lit forest of giant, colorful mushrooms, Kuji looks back at Rue with a bead of sweat, asking, Is something wrong?" Kuji explains that this is a resource-rich dungeon with a relatively low-risk boss, but cautions that it's not good to hang around in the back. A young, curly-haired explorer with a pickaxe excitedly holds up a sparkling purple mushroom, exclaiming, "It's a Shiond Ake, lucky!" Another explorer is seen struggling to chop down a tree as Kuji remarks to Rue, "Look, it's not life-threatening, but collecting them is a pain." Koji turns to Rue, saying, "If I'd known, I wouldn't have called you." But Rue responds, "I don't mind, I can learn more," prompting Koji to reply, "Well, not everything is a hassle, follow me." They venture deeper into a sun-dappled forest filled with sparkling, ethereal light. Rue, examining a peculiar red, bird-shaped artifact, remarks, "There's a lot of strange stuff here," as Koji behind him states. "We can't use that." The female combat explorer informs Koji, "We've defeated the enemy. Please take these two to clean things up. We'll go gather some food," and Koji acknowledges with a "got it." As Rue and another support member proceed into the glowing mushroom grove, Rue suggests, "Let's go inside," while Koji watches with a hint of apprehension. Rue's gloved hand emits a faint blue pixelated glow accompanied by a subtle sound effect. He glances back with a knowing look, his hand still faintly shimmering from the activation. Rue then pauses, looking inquisitively at a peculiar glowing red mushroom amidst a patch of other strangely shaped fungi. Koji, turning back, urges, "What are you doing? Let's go," while Rue, looking down, internally wonders, "When did I drop this?" referring to the red artifact. Suddenly, a massive, dark-skinned monster covered in glowing red mushrooms roars in agony as it's powerfully struck. The female warrior then tells Koji, "I'll heal the injured, so please clean up over here." To which he, with Rue and the other support, responds, "Leave it to us." 20 minutes later, the support team, including Rue, is seen gathering resources around the fallen, mushroom-covered monster in the vibrant, sparkling forest. Holding a freshly picked carrot, Rue muses that the dungeon's environment dictates its resources, noting this one is full of plants unlike the previous mineral-rich one. Koji asks if Rue has collected enough as it's time to head back, to which Rue, holding a box laden with red berries, confirms he has more than enough. Suddenly, a monstrous clawed hand erupts from the ground, gripping Rue's ankle. Rue is visibly startled as he's abruptly pulled, his box of collected berries flying from his grasp. He is violently dragged backward through the air, his sword still at his hip. His gloved hand slams against the ground, a faint blue, pixelated energy briefly appearing upon impact. The other two support members, Koji and the young explorer, watch in stunned disbelief as Rue is whisked away by an unseen entity. Rue looks back with wide, alarmed eyes and a bead of sweat on his temple as he's pulled into the foliage. Koji, looking concerned, questions how the monster could have disappeared when there was still 1 minute left, while the younger explorer looks on anxiously. Rue, looking back at Koji and the other explorer, states, "Well, whatever, let's get out of here." A close-up shows Rue's boot stepping towards the glowing blue dungeon exit portal. Turning to Koji, Rue explains, "Koji-san, I've got something to do, so I'll go back first." And Koji replies, "Got it. I'll transfer the reward once it's paid." The scene shifts to a sunlit view of Rue's modern apartment building. Inside, Rue's hand hovers over a blue holographic interface displaying "Obtained Flexible Mycelium X2, one unread message." Interacting with the glowing blue screen, Rue wonders aloud, does this mean it had no time to investigate? The interface updates to show "Obtained Flexible Mycelium X2, obtained Unusable Mycelium X1, as Achibiru exclaims in surprise, "That mushroom decomposed it." With a look of dawning comprehension, Rue exclaims, "Monster corpses and black currants are worthless, so I can use X-Ruse to break down junk and turn it into items." A determined glint in his eyes, Rue clenches his fist, thinking, "If I'm lucky, I might even get a skill. If I use this right, I can make it on my own." A tight close-up focuses on Rue's intense, glowing red eyes, reflecting his newfound resolve. Standing in his living room, Rue contemplates his vulnerability, acknowledging he lacks the strength to protect himself if his newfound ability is discovered by others. He sits down, pondering his next move as the blue holographic interface hovers nearby, wondering what he should do. Gazing at the skills obtained X-Ryu's notification, Rue recognizes his current weakness prevents solo dungeon expeditions, but realizes staying in the rear offers opportunities to touch monster corpses. Leaning back with arms crossed, he considers the inherent risk of using his skill, understanding he must be discreet, though it won't always be straightforward. Suddenly, an idea strikes him, accompanied by a metaphorical light bulb, though he hesitates, concerned it might inconvenience Koji. A determined Chibiru clenches his fists, resolving to proceed with his plan, intending to use the skill and gradually repay Koji. The scene shifts to an imposing, sunlit mansion, suggesting a change in location or a new character's introduction. Through a window, a young man with dark hair, a bandaged head, and his arm in a sling looks out pensively. Now in bed, the injured young man looks up in surprise as a well-dressed older man enters his room, prompting him to ask, What? The older man sternly questions the youth about arguing with his father and venturing into a dungeon, to which the bandaged young man, looking down, replies that it's his own life and none of his brother's concern. The older brother states, I see. If you want to risk your life and do whatever, I'll respect that. He then advises his younger sibling, but if you still care about your family, cherish your life, adding that being an explorer isn't the only path. As the older brother turns to depart, the injured young man calls out, Wait! The bandaged youth, his face shadowed, hesitantly utters, Brother, With fierce determination, he then shouts his desire to leave the Kazami family. The scene shifts to Rue, now with silver hair, diligently performing L-sit pull-ups on an outdoor bar in a sunlit park. Rao internally considers that to disassemble more monsters, he needs Kuji to cooperate with him on two specific matters. His first idea involves creating several fake identities and using them interchangeably with his real one, thereby lowering the risk level if he makes a mistake. The second plan is to have Kuji purchase a dungeon, as even a D-rank forest can be richer in resources than a C-rank desert, since items produced depend on the environment. This explains why some explorers sell dungeons, though it's cautioned that without a trustworthy buyer, one might regret it later. While performing an inverted hang, Rue considers that he needs someone trustworthy with broad connections, and what he truly desires is... His red eyes suddenly narrow with a bead of sweat, sensing an unexpected presence. A young man with dark, neatly styled hair and a red tie appears with a cheerful aura, causing Rue to look up in surprise. Rue drops from the bar, landing firmly on the ground. The young man introduces himself as Yasukage Kazami, reminding Rue that he helped him in a dungeon before, and Rue acknowledges that he remembers. Yasukage, after asking if Rue needs anything, then nervously inquires if he can go on adventures with him. Rue looks visibly surprised by Yasukage's unexpected request. Yasukage earnestly explains that Rue didn't give up against unbeatable enemies, and he wants to be like him, admitting he's not strong but will do his best. Rue, standing tall, questions if Yasukage came because he looked into him, but Yasukage stammers that he just wanted to see him and meant no offense. Dismissively, Rue states there's no point in following someone like him who has no abilities, telling Yasukage to go home. Rue internally acknowledges that Yasukage technically helped him too, making them even, but dislikes people who give up so easily. He sternly tells Yasukage, Don't follow me, don't come see me again. As Rue begins to jog away, Yasukage calls out, Wait! Yasukage, watching Rue depart, clenches his fist and declares, I won't give up. Later, Rue stands with Koji before a dungeon portal, stating he tried various sources but lately no one is selling dungeons, prompting Kuji to ask, Why's that? Kauji, lighting a cigarette, replies, Who knows? But apparently the pattern of dungeon appearances is changing. It's info I worked hard to get. Rao questions if dungeon appearances aren't supposed to be consistent, to which Kuji responds there's no such thing as something that never changes, making Rue wonder if this is good or bad for humanity. Rue then asks, So then, as Kuji looks slightly surprised over his shoulder. Yasukage suddenly appears behind them, waving cheerfully, and Kuji, noticing him, asks Rue, You've been followed around for over half a month now. Who is it? Is it a stalker? Achibi-Rue, looking exasperated, explains he was at a party with Yasukage before, and he's been following him since, to which Achibi-Kuji remarks, Popular, huh? Rue confronts Yasukage in a rocky area, asking about his true intentions and stating that merely wanting to adventure together won't suffice indefinitely. Yasukage earnestly insists he's not being deceitful, and genuinely desires to accompany Rue, whom he perceives as strong, prompting a surprised, Me? Strong? From Rue. With a skeptical expression, Rue reiterates that he's merely a rear scout, a point he has made numerous times before. Yasukage passionately affirms his seriousness, countering that Rue is no ordinary individual and likely has many companions, then adds he's witnessed many powerful individuals, but never someone who charged an enemy with such conviction in a dire situation. Looking determined, Yasukage fervently declares his aspiration to become someone like Rue. In a chibi depiction, Yasukage explains that because of his personality and abilities, he is constantly compared to his older brother, a situation he despises, while a chibi Rue appears taken aback. Rue, with a thoughtful expression, inquires about Yasukage's older brother. A sudden realization dawns on Rue, his eyes widening as he internally wonders if Yasukage's brother is who he suspects. A flashback depicts a cheerful chibi Nana enthusiastically presenting a photograph, exclaiming that it's a picture of the 7 stars. Continuing the memory, Rue, while cooking in an apron, examines the photo Nana offers, as she explains that Fischl wanted a group picture, leading Rue to question, 7 stars? Rue, with a shocked expression, asks Yasukage if his brother is Shunshun Kazami, to which Yasukage confirms, a spectral image of the imposing Kazami appearing above them. Internally, Rue reflects that he'd heard Kazami had a younger brother but never imagined it was Yasukage, as shadowy figures of the two siblings are shown. He then considers how their personalities are complete opposites, pondering the kind of upbringing the Kazami family provides. Rue tells Yasukage he'd like to grant his wish, but simply desires a peaceful life, and doesn't take on little brothers or partners who require assistance. Yasukage, looking downcast with a bead of sweat, begins to protest. But Kuji, standing by a swirling dungeon portal, calls out, Rue, work! And Ro, turning from Yasukage, replies, yeah. With a final glance, Rue bids Yasukage farewell, saying, see you, leaving Yasukage looking disheartened. Inside a cavern, Rue and 3 other support explorers stand before a colossal, crystal-encrusted monster corpse, one complaining about the difficulty of harvesting it and needing to leave early for his daughter's birthday. Rue, with a slight smile, reassures one of the older support members that there doesn't seem to be anything noteworthy, suggesting he head back first while Rue takes care of the remainder. The explorer gratefully agrees, saying he'll leave it to Rue and treat him to a meal next time as he and the other 2 depart, leaving Rue alone with the massive carcass. Alone with the massive, crystal-encrusted monster corpse, Rue kneels, hoping for better materials this time as the other explorers' silhouettes recede. His gloved hand glows with blue energy as he touches the creature, causing it to disintegrate into particles, and notifications appear. Acquired, dried octopus tentacle, X3. And acquired, octopus skin, damaged, X1. A new blue interface then announces, acquired bronze body X1. With a note explaining this skill increases physical durability, making Rue exclaim in surprise. He smiles, realizing that if he trains with this skill combined with defense arts, his physical durability will increase significantly. Suddenly, Rue's red eyes widen with a bead of sweat, sensing something amiss as he wonders, what's going on? The explorer who left earlier reappears at the cavern entrance, questioning why there are no monster corpses when it's not yet time for them to disappear. His face half-shadowed, the explorer glares suspiciously at Rue, whose own eye reflects unease and demands, what did you do? Rue stands with his hand behind his back, holding a small sword, as the older explorer continues to scrutinize him from a distance. The explorer, showing his watch, angrily asks if Rue is mocking him, stating he was timing it. Rue, a bead of sweat on his temple, internally despairs, wondering what excuse he could offer for a monster vanishing earlier than scheduled and whether the explorer would even believe him. The older explorer, convinced Rue was lying, menacingly approaches, his expression indicating he wouldn't be easily placated. Rue, feigning innocence with a smile, claims he just arrived and suggests they leave quickly since the dungeon is about to close. Unconvinced, the explorer delivers a brutal punch to Rue's face, causing blood to spray from the impact. Standing over the downed Ro, the explorer angrily brandishes a dagger, insisting he witnessed the monster's demise 10 minutes prior. With the dagger held threateningly, the explorer gives Rue a final ultimatum to explain himself. Suddenly, the explorer's eyes widen in pained surprise as he lets out a grunt. Rue, his expression now grim, has driven his own bloody dagger into the explorer's torso, eliciting a pained, "You bastard," from the man. Following up, Rue lands a swift, forceful punch to the explorer's jaw. Now standing over the defeated explorer, Rue is surrounded by a dark, swirling energy, his bloody dagger still embedded in his assailant. A close-up reveals the dagger, its hilt adorned with a glowing red eye, plunged deep into the explorer as crimson energy radiates outwards. With blood on his face and glowing red eyes, Rue coldly tells the fallen explorer, "I gave you the chance to turn back." The defeated explorer lies on the cavern floor, Rue's boots firmly planted near his head. A close-up reveals the explorer's terrified eye, tears and sweat mingling as he lies defeated. As Rue walks away into the darkness, the explorer wonders if the rumor about him was true. Later, Rue is seen washing blood from his hands under a running faucet in a sink. Standing in his modern bathroom, Rue continues to cleanse his hands at the basin. He looks up, startled, at his own reflection in the mirror, blood still visible on his face. His crimson eyes glare intensely from his reflection, the word murderer echoing his internal turmoil. A crazed, wide-eyed grin spreads across Rue's face as his reflection appears in a cracking mirror. Rue violently punches the mirror, shattering it completely. Rue, looking down with a bead of sweat, mutters, "A murderer. Huh." A bloody sink drain swirls as text explains that in a world where law is unclear, murder isn't anything unusual. Wiping his bloodied hand with a cloth, Rue states that killing is still killing, and he won't make excuses. His boot nudges a bucket on the tiled floor as he says, "But..." With a determined look and an outstretched hand towards the bloodied water, Rue declares he won't let anyone get in his way. 1 month later, Rue pushes a cart laden with glowing blue crystals away from a swirling dungeon portal in a rocky cavern. A muscular man waves enthusiastically, calling out that Rue took long enough and he thought Rue got trapped in there, while Rue calmly explains he twisted his ankle a bit, so it took some time. Another young explorer with a bright smile cheerfully tells Rue to be careful, adding that if he gets hurt, they're the ones in trouble, then asks if Rue could hand over the collected items to the explorer. Rue, smiling pleasantly with his eyes closed, agrees, saying, "Yeah," since he's in the tent. As Rue walks away pushing the cart, one explorer questions letting Big Bro go alone since they haven't even counted everything, but another reassures him it's fine, stating Rue is a good guy who is honest to a fault and would never embezzle, adding that people fight to work with him, lining up for the chance. The muscular explorer sternly advises the other to stop bothering Rue, mentioning that even Buddha only forgives 3 times. Another explorer scoffs, doubting Rue would get angry, then mentions hearing he's Shining Light's older brother, which surprises his companion. They continue to express disbelief, reasoning that if it were true, he wouldn't work in such a place for little pay. While one wonders if something happened to Shining Light, since her name hasn't been heard recently, as Rue wheels his cart away. Later, Rue, with silver hair and a black hoodie, walks along a sunlit street carrying a grocery bag. He appears somewhat weary or pensive as he continues down the sidewalk. Rue, looking over his shoulder, asks how long his follower intends to trail him, while Yasukage, hiding behind a sign, internally insists he's perfectly concealed and Rue must be talking to someone else. Suddenly, Rue appears beside Yasukage, placing a hand on his shoulder and stating, "I'm talking to you." Yasukage lets out a startled cry, his eyes wide with shock at being discovered. A sharp impact is shown on the back of Yasukage's head, indicating he's been struck. A chibi Rue looks on with a blank expression as a chibi Yasukage crouches, holding a steaming bun on his head, while Rue internally remarks that for such a coward, he certainly knows how to stalk people. Rue, unimpressed, asks Yasukage how he knew he was there, sarcastically questioning his hiding abilities and telling him to stop. Yasukage desperately pleads for just one chance, internally lamenting his tiring heart and considering giving up, as Rue issues a warning that he won't hold back if the pursuit continues. As Rue walks away with his groceries, a startled Yasukage continues to follow him around a street corner. Yasukage then explains to Rue that he's recently come to the realization that he's actually somewhat useful. Rue, with a dismissive glance, questions what Yasukage could possibly do, stating he sees no value in him, prompting Yasukage to offer his services in selling items. With his red eyes glinting, Rue presses an elevator button and directly accuses Yasukage of investigating his affairs. A flustered Yasukage vehemently denies the accusation, claiming he only happened to notice Rue selling items by pure chance. Yasukage confidently asserts that he possesses connections, promises not to pry unnecessarily, and insists he will undoubtedly be of use to Rue. Rue internally reflects that while Yasukage lacks strength, his connections offer sufficient value, and continuing to sell items alone risks exposure, making a partnership potentially beneficial. Turning slightly, Rue thoughtfully utters, "You," as he seriously considers Yasukage's persistent offer. Suddenly, a loud explosion rocks the alleyway, startling both Rue and Yasukage. They immediately sprint down a nearby staircase, with Rue exclaiming, "Isn't this supposed to be a safe zone? Why the explosion?" Looking up, Rue and Yasukage spot 2 figures standing on the rooftop of a nearby building amidst rising smoke. A close-up reveals one of the figures to be a stern-looking man with dark, slicked-back hair and a long brown coat. The other figure, clad in a white, cat-eared hooded cape and a distinctive mask, leaps gracefully across the cityscape towards the man in the brown coat. The masked individual, identified as 7 Stars Divine Right, smirks and remarks, "Hey, hey, hey, I didn't expect to catch such a big fish." The man in the brown coat swiftly retaliates, launching a powerful blast of blue energy towards the approaching masked figure. The masked figure is momentarily caught in the blue energy attack, a slight grimace appearing on their face. Recovering quickly, the masked figure comments, "Oh my, you're quick with your hands. Why don't we have a little chat? Aren't you curious about who I really am, where I come from, and what my goals are?" The man in the brown coat looks down thoughtfully, silently considering the masked figure's proposition with a, all of that? The masked figure dismisses the man's curiosity, claiming to be merely a flashy villain who expects cooperation after their dramatic entrance. In response, the man in the brown coat gestures, causing a small vortex of blue energy to form on the ground before him. He then materializes a large, ornate sword crackling with blue energy, declaring he'll cooperate plenty after he eliminates his opponent. A focused view shows his firm grip on the hilt of the powerfully glowing blue sword. The man in the brown coat swings his radiant blue sword, acknowledging his adversary's ruthlessness as expected of divine right. The masked figure, conjuring a swirling red-orange orb of energy in their bandaged hand, retorts that his words are harsh, even if they are the villain. Holding the fiery sphere, the masked individual then questions if they must indeed proceed with this confrontation, addressing divine right. The man in the brown coat charges forward, his blue energy-infused sword aimed directly at the masked figure. With a confident smirk, the masked figure hurls the swirling red-orange energy disc at their advancing foe. The man in the brown coat expertly parries the incoming fiery projectile with a swift movement of his glowing blue sword. A massive explosion erupts where the fiery disc met the blue sword, sending the masked figure flying backward. The man in the brown coat's crystalline blue sword hums with concentrated energy. With a smirk, the masked figure remarks, "How scary! As expected of divine right, so ruthless," as the sword tip nears. The glowing blue blade slices through the air, just inches from the masked figure's startled eyes. He brings his sword down in a powerful arc, but the masked adversary nimbly evades the blow. The very tip of the blade nicks the masked figure's gloved hand, drawing a single drop of blood. As the masked individual leaps back, the man in the brown coat readies his weapon for another assault. The masked figure, a fresh scratch on their cheek, touches their chin and muses, "Dual blades, huh? New info acquired. Lucky me." Now wielding two identical energy swords, the man in the brown coat coolly asks, "Is that so? Good for you." An excited, almost manic grin spreads across the masked figure's face as they exclaim, "What should I do? I'm getting hyped up." From below, Rue and Yasukage watch the masked figure and the man in the brown coat clash in midair, blue energy trails marking the man's sword strikes. Yasukage abruptly tries to dash off, but Rue, surprised, catches his arm to stop him. Rue, holding Yasukage back, demands to know what he's planning, while Yasukage insists he must go help his brother. With a stern expression, Rue questions Yasukage's logic, stating that even if he bravely rushes in, he'll just get killed. Rue then advises Yasukage that if he truly cares about his brother, he should prioritize his own safety. Internally, Rue wonders who the hell the guy in the white robe is, to be going toe-to-toe with 7 Star's strongest leader, Shunshin Kazami. Rue raises his phone, capturing a clear image of the masked cat-eared figure as they leap in the distance. While holding his phone up, Rue acknowledges that staying hidden is the smarter move, but Yasukage anxiously questions if they are really just going to stand there and watch. Rue, turning away with his grocery bag, states he's going to do what he can, prompting Yasukage to ask where he is going. Rue and Yasukage are now in a brightly lit hallway, with Rue reaching for the doorknob of a nearby room. Rao tells Yasukage he'll think about his proposal and will contact him once he has an answer, then dismisses him with a "later then." A flustered Yasukage with a bead of sweat exclaims, "Well, wait a second." Yasukage tries to open the door Rue just closed, but it appears to be locked as indicated by the rattling sound effect. A dejected Chibi Yasukage sits on the floor under a spotlight muttering, "Ouch, I thought I'd get in too." Later, Rue is at his computer in a dimly lit room, analyzing the image of the masked figure, with a progress bar on one screen showing 50%. The circular progress bar on Rue's computer screen now displays 100%. The enhanced image on Rue's screen clearly shows the masked, cat-eared figure leaping away from Kazami Shun, who is wielding his dual energy swords. Rue stares intently at his computer monitor, his red eyes focused on the analyzed image. His eyes widen slightly as he notices a small, distinct mark on the glove of the masked figure in the enhanced image, prompting an internal, "This is..." Rue is on the phone, his expression serious, saying, "Hello? Check out the mark I just sent you." 30 minutes later, Rue's phone buzzes on the wooden desk, indicating an incoming call. Rao, holding the phone to his ear, inquires, "Did you find anything?" To which the voice on the other end replies, "I wouldn't be calling if I didn't." A chibi Rue impatiently urges, "Just get to the point already," as the caller explains, "Seriously." That's A-rank explorer Komori Amon. The design is based on his pet cat, but, Rue looking surprised, questions, dead? You're saying dead, not fallen in the line of duty? When he learns Amon was confirmed deceased last August. The voice clarifies, exactly. He wasn't killed in the dungeon. He died near the entrance to an A-rank dungeon, showing a gruesome image of Amon's bloodied body, and adds, apparently the body was in a horrifying state, but the culprit still hasn't been identified. While looking at his computer screen, Rue asks, where did you see that crest? Prompting the caller to respond, why are you asking something like that? The caller warns, I don't know where you saw it, but if you spot that kind of symbol, stay far away, as an image of a cat in a suit with red eyes appears, adding, if I'm not mistaken, that mark means it's a plunder. Standing by his window, Rue asks into the phone, spoils of war? What's that supposed to mean? While the caller retorts, do you really not get it or just pretending not to? Rue's slippered foot is shown as he slides open his balcony door with a soft sound. Now on the balcony, still on the phone and looking out at the cityscape where the battle took place, Rue asks, did he run? The caller explains it's a symbol of victory, and Rue, still on the phone, inquires if they have any leads on them. On the other end, a man with blue hair lounging on a sofa tells the woman with red hair to ask him nicely for the information. A chibi version of the blue-haired man, still on the phone, then says, all right, then please do, after a moment of silence. He elaborates that stealing someone else's crest and keeping it as a trophy is lame, adding that, as far as he knows, the only ones doing that are a group called Crews. The man continues, revealing that the individual in the footage is even more shrouded in mystery than Cruz's boss, and all they know is he's referred to as Z. The red-haired woman, now fully visible, questions him about Cruz, referring to them as that weird organization. The blue-haired man, looking slightly surprised, asks her if she has heard of them. Her hand places her phone down as she states that Nana mentioned them once. He acknowledges this, explaining that Cruz is an international group with a pretty complex structure, and importantly, they are pretty crazy, but possess strong unity. He then sternly warns her not to investigate them, adding that someone like before who'd protect her isn't around anymore. Rao, on the phone, sternly asks, how much do you know? Adding, don't lie to me. The blue-haired man on the other end reveals that word about Nana has already spread to some circles and will probably go public soon, prompting Rue to ask where he heard that. A black-gloved hand places a Daisy business card beside Rue's phone, which displays the time 02 Parkard. The man explains it's the Daisy Trading Company, clarifying that while they deal in information, they aren't shady enough to sell this kind of intel, and he managed to get the chairman to reveal the details. He acknowledges Rue's understanding, then requests that Rue continue gathering intel on the trophy collector, just enough to avoid getting hurt, before asking about Rue's future plans. Standing before a wall adorned with photos, including one of Nana, Rue states that if word about Nana spreads, he's moving, to which the caller remarks on his surprising calmness. Rue ends the call, his finger hovering over the phone screen as he wonders, but who? Gazing at a framed photograph of a smiling Nana, Rue reflects that he began preparing the moment he suspected Koji might have leaked Nana's death, admitting he didn't expect the association to cover it up so thoroughly. Holding Nana's picture, Rue thinks with a serious expression that he's just glad they weren't using her for profit. Otherwise, the scene transitions to an exterior shot of a modern building under bright sunlight. In the training hall, Rue grits his teeth, absorbing a powerful punch to the face from a training robot. He braces himself, his red eyes focused, as another red-gloved robotic fist speeds towards him. Rao ducks under a sweeping kick from a training robot, the motion blurred with speed. He then weaves between two training robots, narrowly avoiding their coordinated attacks. Facing two robotic opponents, Rue looks slightly surprised as they prepare another assault. Charlie appears in the doorway, clapping and remarking, not bad, you're sharper than before. Rao, turning to his instructor, credits his improvement to Charlie's coaching, but Charlie humbly states he didn't teach him much. Charlie points out that Rue has only visited the training hall a few times anyway. The instructor observes that normally, someone with Rue's physique couldn't handle two training bots so quickly, noting the enhancements from the system seem quite obvious. With his arms crossed, Charlie assures Rue he won't ask what happened, as that would be nosy, but then inquires why Rue came today. Rue, with a serious expression, tells Charlie, don't say it's for training, I'm not that stupid. Charlie, turning to Rue, states, I told you before to listen to me, adding, it's about Kazami Shun who nearly turned into a disaster. The instructor gestures for Rue to sit, saying, come on, sit. as Rue stands before him in the training hall. A fiery, smoke-filled cityscape is depicted as Charlie explains he nearly wrecked the entire city of Meiku, while Rue inquires, "What happened?" Charlie, now seated beside Rue, remarks, "Shocking, huh? He seems cool-headed, but when he snaps, it's all over," and mentions, "That fight with White Robe was nothing," to which Rue concurs, "Yeah." Lighting a cigarette, Charlie notes, "White Robe was strong, the only one who's ever pushed Kazami that far," then elaborates, "The question is how he provoked Kazami, because as a result, Kazami was on the verge of losing control." As they both gaze out at a sunset, Charlie clarifies, "You probably heard from Shining Light Kazami's the strongest of the 7 stars, but that's assuming he's unrestrained." The instructor, smoking, reveals with a smile, "Truth is Kazami's the only 7-star with a limiter. If he goes all out, he turns into a mass murder machine." And Rue responds, "Makes sense." An image of Kazami Shun materializes as Rue reflects that back then, the 7 stars ranks were based on power, with Nana being the strongest according to records. Yet simultaneously, they said Kazami was the true strongest. Charlie, looking at Ichibi-Rue, asks, "Isn't this what you came to hear?" To which Rue, with a slight pout, replies, "No." Charlie, holding a cigarette, asks if Rue's inquiry is about White Robe. Rue, his red eyes focused, confirms his desire to know White Robe's identity. Charlie's sharp eyes narrow as he states he could tell Rue but needs a compelling reason. Rue asserts that Nana didn't die merely from a dungeon run and that the association must have known this long ago, asking if that's sufficient reason, to which Charlie concedes. Charlie reveals he was planning to use Rue as bait to draw White Robe out, questioning why Rue doesn't simply back off as Rue utters his name. Charlie remains silent for a moment as Rue accuses him of deliberately keeping him uninformed. Charlie offers to disclose the information, but warns that once Rue embarks on this path, there's no return, as it carries a high risk of death and contradicts Shining Light's wishes, then reveals White Robe is a member of a new, completely unknown group called Saints. Rue's eyes widen in shock as Charlie further explains that the 7 stars are now compelled to select a new member. While Charlie lights his cigarette, Rue questions the sudden inclusion of a rookie and asks if it's due to the Saint. Charlie, exhaling smoke, admits they don't know the Saint's background, but their objective is evident, then asks Rue for his opinion on whether the Saint is targeting all Seekers or specifically the 7 stars. Charlie elaborates that either way, if the Saint wipes out all Seekers, he'll eventually face the 7 stars, and conversely, if he takes out the 7 stars, the remaining Seekers are essentially nothing. While smoking, Charlie wonders how they know White Robe's codename but not his past, as Rue, seated, dismisses it, saying villains always spout the same nonsense and just start preaching on their own. Rue, with a focused gaze, questions if the Saints are some kind of cult that worships a shady god. Holding his cigarette, Charlie comments that pretty much every era has its share of such idiots. Charlie then asks Rue if one of the 7 stars selected Shining Light, while Rue wonders if it's truly necessary to find a replacement for Nana so quickly, even with a Saint Lavelle threat. A close-up shows Rue's red eyes narrowing with intense thought. Ichibi Charlie, smoking, asks if Rue thinks he's an idiot, then calls Rue a siscon who could snap at any moment, while Ichibi Rue listens. Rue, looking down with his hands on his knees, states that to him, Nana isn't just Shining Light of the 7 stars, but his little sister. Ichibi Charlie, smiling and giving a thumbs up, remarks that's just what he'd expect from his student. Much better than a brocon, as Ichibi Rue looks on. Charlie, looking serious as he holds his cigarette, explains that the 7 stars are their nation's strongest shield and spear, and if Nana's death becomes public, the country will undoubtedly descend into chaos. Charlie, looking somber, tells Rue, "That's why... I'm sorry, Rue." Rue, with wide, shocked eyes, questions Charlie, "Don't tell me, you guys." As Charlie, looking away, firmly states, "This is the only way." Charlie confirms, "Yeah," admitting he would have told Rue regardless, while Rue angrily notes that if Nana's death becomes public, the country will descend into chaos, and Charlie adds they can no longer keep it concealed. Rue, his fist clenched and surrounded by a dark aura, deduces, "So you're planning to choose a new 7 star to take her place," realizing that this way, the public will believe Yoko is still alive, rendering all news of her death a fabrication. Walking away from Charlie, who watches from the steps, Rue acknowledges it as a well-thought-out plan. Charlie then urgently informs Rue, "Rue, the Seeker contest schedule's been moved up," explaining that apparently several countries have formed alliances and are now targeting him. Rue, his face in profile and his red eyes glinting, sharply responds, "You never intended to hear my opinion, right?" Adding, "Then drop the half-baked act." As Rue walks away down a sunlit, tree-lined path, Charlie, looking distressed, runs a hand through his hair and mutters, "I told you I hate this kind of thing." Rue, now clad in explorer attire and holding a book, stands in a vibrant, sun-drenched forest clearing, remarking, "So this is the place." While Rue ventures deeper into the verdant forest, a close-up of his boot is shown, and he internally reflects that he cannot visit the guild for some time, acknowledging that self-training has limitations, and this isolated training is his only remaining option. Rue, examining a map, internally states he paid a fortune for this intel and hopes it doesn't disappoint him. He approaches a swirling blue dungeon portal in a remote, verdant landscape, remarking on Daisy Trading Company's impressive ability to locate such an entrance. His boot firmly plants on the rocky ground as he enters the dungeon. Within a cavern filled with glowing blue water and scattered stepping stones, Rue stands before another active portal. He bends down, his gloved hand picking up a small rock from the cavern floor. Rao hurls the rock through the portal, only for it to loop back out and splash into the water before him. A monstrous, shark-like creature with glowing red eyes and rows of sharp teeth suddenly erupts from the water. Watching the creature's tail submerge, Rue sighs that his plan to train here is ruined, chalking it up to his luck. As Rue, now with light blue hair, dashes across the stepping stones, multiple sharp, golden-tipped projectiles suddenly shoot up from the water around him. The enormous shark monster lunges from the water, its massive jaws agape, as Rue desperately tries to escape its attack. Rue, with a surprised expression, pushes against the snout of the lunging shark monster. He then executes an agile flip over the water, narrowly avoiding the creature's attack. Landing precariously on a stepping stone, Rue remarks, "First time I've ever found fish this annoying." Suddenly, a multitude of shark-like monsters with glowing red eyes erupt from the water surrounding him. One of the monstrous fish lunges directly at Rue, its massive jaws wide open. Rao retaliates with a powerful punch to the creature's head, causing a splash. He manages to leap to the relative safety of the rocky bank, his hand touching the ground. Standing on the edge, Rue muses, "Good thing amphibians don't show up in E-rank dungeons, otherwise there's no way I could handle this many." Just then, two enormous columns of water erupt violently behind him, catching him off guard. Three of the shark-like creatures, now revealed to have clawed limbs, emerge onto the land from the waterspouts, startling Rue. Rue, looking completely stunned, exclaims, "Whoa, you've got to be kidding me!" as the amphibious creatures advance. A large cloud of dust and debris erupts from the forest floor, indicating a powerful impact or explosion. Rue slides to a stop on the damp ground, his clothes slightly dirtied from the encounter. Surrounded by the defeated amphibious monsters, Rue sits and reflects. "If I'd been dragged underwater, I'd be the one dead." Using his skill on one of the bipedal fish monsters, Rue acquires multiple instances of bipedal fish meat X1 and bipedal fish scales X1 through a series of blue holographic notifications. His gloved hand holds up a peculiar glowing red eyeball-like pearl, still dripping with moisture. A chibi Rue, looking unimpressed, holds the pearl and muses, "They say pearls from aquatic monsters are good for your skin, but who would use something this gross?" Walking through the dark, overgrown forest, Rue considers that getting 2 pearls from all those monsters isn't bad, as even bosses have low drop rates for rare items, and this is about what he expected. He approaches a clearing where a large, luminous butterfly rests upon a glowing lotus flower in a murky pond. A close-up reveals the beautiful, iridescent blue and black butterfly, as Rue internally notes, "So the boss here is a butterfly." Rue considers that butterfly types tend to be deadly, their scales often causing hallucinations, and the real danger is they might be poisonous. He decides to try luring it out once, throwing his sword towards the butterfly resting on the lotus. The sword pierces the butterfly, pinning it to the lotus flower as blue liquid splatters. Ripples spread across the surface of the murky water, hinting at something beneath. A large, glowing yellow crystal, seemingly the true boss, emerges from the water, surprising Rue as the defeated butterfly lies nearby. His gloved hand swiftly grips the hilt of a smaller knife. Rao hurls the knife, wondering if the butterfly was just for show and the fish swarm was the real threat. The thrown knife strikes the large yellow crystal, causing it to shatter into multiple pieces. Observing the destroyed crystal and the pinned butterfly, Rue thinks this might actually be a lucky day. He reflects with a slight smile that if it had been a real boss, he might have died. His gloved hand reaches for the sword pinning the butterfly, which is now dissolving into blue particles. Rue's red eyes widen in sudden alarm at an unseen development. Sometime later, a silver-haired Rue is seen jogging briskly through a sunlit park. Kuji spots him on the path, waving and calling out his name. Rue approaches Kuji, asking, "Koji-san, what's up? If you didn't have business, is it bad to come see me?" Kuji, smiling, pats Rue's shoulder and remarks, "No way. You're getting stronger by the day," adding, "I've been looking for a reliable team, so I thought I'd introduce you." Rao responds with a simple, "Ah, thanks," as Kuji assures him, "No problem, I'll send you their contact info later." However, Kuji's expression then turns serious as he inquires, "But why are you collecting the corpses of dungeon bosses?" A narrative panel explains that with the changing dungeon patterns, sales had ceased, so Rue was asking Koji for leads on dungeons or boss corpses to break down. Kuji, looking concerned, then presses Rue, "I'm helping you this much, so at least tell me what your connection to Nana-chan is. Did you hear something?" Kuji explains to Rue, there's a rumor Nana met misfortune, causing panic since any issue with a 7-star member unsettles everyone, and the changing dungeon patterns also have members crowding the guild worriedly. Rue, smiling, reassures Kuji the guild will handle it, and Nana said her mission would be over soon, suggesting they grab a meal when she's back. Kuji, looking thoughtful, says, "Never mind," then asks Rue where he's been lately, to which Rue replies he's been holed up doing intense training. With a serene smile, Rue clarifies he's been training in the dungeon, as flashbacks show him fighting a tree monster and a giant bee. Kuji, in a chibi style, pats Rue's shoulder, remarking it makes sense and no wonder Rue is looking so fit, then says he has business and is off, to which Rue replies, "Yeah, see you." As Kuji walks away in the sunlit park, Rue watches him depart. Rue, with glowing red eyes and a determined expression, wonders if he could take back the shining light if he were stronger. The scene transitions to a hallway where Yasukage is sitting dejectedly on the floor as Rue's feet approach. Yasukage looks up, surprised, as Rue stands before him, asking, "Have you been waiting?" While Yasukage exclaims, "Welcome back!" In a chibi depiction, Yasukage cheerfully states it wasn't long, about 10 days, and Rue, looking slightly exasperated, thinks, "You really are amazing," as Yasukage peeks in, asking, "Hey, can I come in?" Rue, holding keys, dismissively tells him, "You can leave now." Yasukage beams, exclaiming, "You're making me a teammate," while Rue, looking slightly askance, inquires, "Are you always this friendly to everyone?" Rue mentions, "I was thinking about your proposal," then clarifies, "If the place you want to go with me is a dungeon." Yasukage's face falls into a dejected expression, uttering a small, as Rue states, "Sorry, I have to decline." Rue explains, "I'm not as strong as you think. If you don't get that, then there's no point in talking," leading Yasukage to ask, "Then, what should I do?" To which Rue, arms crossed, replies, "I'm not necessarily a trustworthy ally. What matters is whether you can do it," prompting Yasukage to question, "How exactly do we cooperate?" With a serious look, Rue proposes, "I want you to sell something for me over a long period. You'll get 30% and I get 70%, adding the condition, "I don't care how you sell it, but one condition. Don't let anyone know I'm involved." Yasukage readily accepts, "Got it. I'm good at business," and Rue adds, "You're the 7-star's brother, so if needed, I'll help plan your training. But I guess you won't need it." Leaning in very close to a startled Rue, Yasukage enthusiastically declares, "I do." Rue shoves Yasukage's face away, stating, "That's all then. I'm busy, so go home already." A close-up of a wall clock is shown as a speech bubble indicates, "Here's my contact, we'll talk details later." Yasukage, with a cheerful sparkle, tells Rue he'll be waiting for his message as he departs. 7 days later, Rue drives through a sun-drenched countryside, noting that the dungeon information from Daisy Trading is taking him further into rural areas. The car navigates a dirt path, and Rue internally mentions purchasing information on 3 E-rank dungeons from Daisy Trading, all situated in remote, widely separated locations. A weathered wooden building stands against a bright sky, as Rue considers that dungeons in good locations are in high demand and rarely available. Plus, Daisy Trading is offering fewer due to shifting dungeon patterns. Leaning against his car, Rue hopes for positive news from Kazami's younger brother, since he didn't receive satisfactory answers before his departure. Now with light blue hair and explorer gear, Rue stands before a swirling blue dungeon portal nestled within a bamboo grove. A green serpent lunges from the foliage, but Rue swiftly bisects it with a clean sword stroke. The severed snake, its body cut in two, sprays green fluid from the wound. Rue, looking slightly perplexed, questions the presence of a snake, reasoning that animals typically avoid dungeons and shouldn't be found near the entrance. His red eyes glowing with concern, Rue realizes that if the changing dungeon patterns are responsible for this, they are in significant trouble and must proceed quickly. Rue, with his light blue hair and determined red eyes, steps through the swirling blue energy of the dungeon portal. He walks away from the portal, venturing into a sunlit bamboo forest within the dungeon. Holding his dagger, Rue observes that the scenery is similar to the real world, but the flow of time seems different from outside. A sharp green bamboo shoot suddenly impales the ground with force, narrowly missing him. Another bamboo shoot strikes Rue squarely in the back, causing him to cry out in pain. He sprints through the bamboo, a green serpentine monster with glowing eyes lunging towards him from the side. The snake monster rears back, preparing to strike with blue energy crackling around its fangs, while Rue's gloved hand catches its tail midair. Rue swings the hissing snake monster around, deflecting an incoming bamboo shoot with its body. As he dashes forward, numerous green snake monsters and sharp bamboo shoots emerge from the ground, their numbers rapidly increasing. Pausing, Rue observes the overwhelming horde of hissing snakes and bamboo shoots, realizing this situation is beyond his current capabilities. Rao, sword in hand, observes a cave entrance within the bamboo forest, remarking, "We wasted a lot of good materials." His attention is then drawn to a distant figure with long dark hair and flowing robes, prompting a small exclamation of surprise from him. With narrowed red eyes, Rue internally questions, "Humanoid monsters? Why would those be in an E-rank dungeon?" Text panels explain that humanoids are the rarest monster type, with fewer than 100 confirmed, and a significant reason for this scarcity is that everyone who has encountered one has perished, while the long-haired figure turns, uttering a curious, The humanoid creature, possessing pointed ears and a striking golden eye, directly asks Rue, "Have we met somewhere before?"